What is going on, everybody? Poker Dad here. Hope you're doing well. Let me just fix this here. I'm just going to be doing a review from my tournaments I played yesterday on Betonline on March 24th. Just going to be looking over some of my hands here, so I wanted to make a YouTube video. I haven't made one in quite a while. And we're going to be looking at hands here that, this is the filter I have set up right now, is face and all-in pre-flop or voluntary put money in the pot and sort the flop. So let's just jump right into it because I only have about an hour to do this here. And I've got this sorted by stack size. So we'll skim through some of these hands here, and we'll go into a deeper analysis if need be. Here, so we have opened up here. We have an M. So I'm going to be using the terminology M. So we're really deep here, an M of 336 in under the gun. So we open it up here. We get this really small 3-bet here from another player who's very deep. So far we have 12 hands in this player, so not much we can really tell about this player, but we do have a really weird 3-bet. Get a call there from the button. And it looks like it's going to go multi-way. Nope, I'm sorry. I end up, of course, 4-betting. And the original guy who 3-bet folds, but this guy calls. This guy we only have 19 hands on, so we're not going to go too crazy about his stats right now. So we have our two overcards here. We are in position. My opponent checks us here, and I could c-bet this here, or I could just check. I think the best play here is just going to be c-betting here and getting a lot of folds from whatever might be in this guy's calling range here. We could even take a look, see what his calling range would be. But I think standard play here, no matter what, is I really want to c-bet regardless of what his range might be. And I check back here, so this is definitely a mistake. We definitely should have c-bet this here. We really want to be c-betting 100% in position especially after we 4-bet. So when we c-bet here, we're really now making our range. We're taking all over pairs out of our range when we do this, which is going to make it really, really easy for him to probably know that we have a hand like Ace-King. In fact, by doing this, I think we're actually turning our, we're definitely turning our hand face up. Because what else would we have here besides Ace-King? I could take out Flopzilla real quick and show you. Like, let's say I'm 4-betting here. So this is definitely a clear mistake. Let's say I'm just 4-betting these hands. Multi-way. So when this flop comes out, we know I'm betting all of these here. So we're just leaving Ace-King and Ace-Queen. And we probably wouldn't even 4-bet Ace-Queen here. So... And multi-way, we're not going to 4-bet bluff. So, I think definitely our hands face up. We have Ace-King. We've told him. He now bets here when the 2 comes out because he knows we can't continue. And maybe he knows this, maybe he doesn't know it. Maybe he's not a thinking player. But we definitely miss an opportunity by not c-betting here. And I think now we just clearly have to fold. So, definitely a mistake there by not c-betting. Here we got pocket aces here. Again, still very deep. Open it up, 3x. Opening up 3x when we're this deep, this early in the tournament, 10, 20 early blind levels. He checks. This is the same player. And now, of course, we're definitely going to bet here. And I bet a little bit on the larger side because I know he's a weak player and I want to try and get value from him. And he folds it up. Pocket eights. I open up again here from under the gun. We get a call from the same player, looks like. And we go multi-way. And multi-way here with eights, we could just get out of the way. I don't think we need to call this here. I do call. I don't know. I guess it's okay with second pair. I mean, what could he possibly have here? That I might be calling. What kind of odds are we getting too? It's a half pot bet, so I guess with eights we probably should continue on this board. We probably have enough equity. Let's go take a look. I should have Flopzilla for whatever reason. Let me break out Flopzilla again real quick. Where's Flopzilla? Flopzilla. Okay. All right. So let me break out Flopzilla here. Let me just make this here a little bit bigger for you guys so you can see. Okay, so we have 19 hands, and not a lot of hands on this particular player here, but we'll look, again, pre-flop. We opened up under the gun. He calls our bet from the small blind. So I'll call something that would call from the small blind. We can go with like versus under the gun open. Hands like these here. Suited connectors, definitely. Like all these pocket pairs are going to call. Most likely suited connectors. We think this guy might be a bad player too, so we're going to give him some more suited hands. Maybe he'll call with like some of these hands here. He should call even with like these suited kings here. Suited queens, jack 10 he can call with here. All of these aces here he could definitely call with here. Maybe ace jack. I don't think ace 10. Yeah, so I mean it's going to be a tight, obviously it's going to be a really tight range here that he should be calling with in the small blind. And then the flop comes out a 6 of clubs, 2 of clubs, and a 10 of spades. So he's got a lot of sets he could possibly have here. He donks out. So he then goes and he donks out here on the flop. So I mean he's got sets that he would be doing that with. He's got some top pair hands that he'd be doing that with. I don't see him doing that with a pocket pair below tens. I mean, usually you got to give this kind of bet some kind of respect here. We have, by the way, 8 of spades, 8 of clubs. Like, I don't expect him to do this with a flush draw, unless he's got a nut flush draw. Like, a nut flush draw I could see like being the only thing that might do this here. So if we just like leave his nut flush draws in. I don't expect him to do his gut shot, any of this other stuff I don't expect him to do this with. So I'll take out all this stuff here. So if we just like have like a really small range, there's gonna be more weighted towards value in a multi-way pot. We have only 18% equity. So considering that we only have 18% equity here, really we should be folding this up here. So calling this 8 was definitely a mistake. Now I played this hand, actually this playing a hand I played on Ignition, and this is the problem I have on Ignition is I just don't believe anybody, and I tend to make a lot of mistakes, and I think this is definitely a mistake calling 8s here. But 2 comes out, so this makes it really more difficult for us now, because if we called this turn, like we have to the flop, it makes it really hard for us to fold the turn as well. He bets us again here, again about half pot, and I call it again. So I put myself in a really tough spot that I really should have folded, considering it was a multi-way pot on the flop here. So now we call again, and a 5 comes out, and it goes check, check, and yeah, he did have queen 10 offsuit. So yeah, I think that was definitely a mistake there on the flop. So we've seen already 2 hands with 2 mistakes already that I made. Ace 8 offsuit here in the big blind. We get an open, and I call to defend. Pretty dry board, King 7-2 rainbow, classic hand, classic board. Goes check, check. Another king comes out, so I think this is definitely a spot I do want to throw out a pro bet here. And I do. My opponent calls. So obviously we could easily be representing some kind of a king hand here. We can have a lot of different kings actually here. We could have a bunch of suited kings that we would have been calling, pre-flop here. So plenty of kings we could possibly have in our range. We could even have like a hand like even like offsuit hands like king jack offsuit we could have here. Maybe even king 10 offsuits possibly we can have here. So we have a lot of kings that we could have that would pro bet, especially when a second king comes out. Also, it's always possible we could have a set of 7s or a set of 2s here that would call the big blind. So we've got a lot of hands that can connect well with this board. He does call. So this player right now, by the way, we have 752 hands on. We can see that he c-bets 57% of the time. So this makes it also just another really good spot to pull a pro bet, because he is c-betting over 50% of the time. And with this being a really dry board, we should get a lot of folds here, but we don't here. So my plan really here is to barrel again. When I bet this king and I'm representing this king in a pro bet, I'm pretty much going to be betting any river card here as well to complete the bluff. The only time I may not bet again is if I get an ace. We might go check check because you could always have a better ace. The 3 of diamonds comes out. I think this is a great card. Just obviously the triple barrel on. This is perfect. We could have always been betting a flush draw as well. Something else that we could have had that we would have bet here. So this is a perfect card for me just to barrel again to complete the bluff. And I bet on the value end side to, I'm playing versus a solid player, so it's going to take a little bit more to bluff him off this hand. Let's say maybe he's got some kind of like a pocket pair that we're trying to get him to fold. Would be probably the real prime candidate is some kind of pocket pair. Obviously he could be floating us on the turn with an ace is always possible. But, now, like, if he had pocket pairs, we're probably going to get that to fold here when a flush does complete. Also, considering that we could easily have a king here as well. And, we show a lot of strength when we're betting here when the flush does complete. We're showing a lot of strength that, like, we're not afraid of that flush. We still think we've won this hand. So I bet for value versus a solid player. And he calls it, actually. So that's kind of disappointing that he calls it. He shows up with pocket queen, so hell of a loose call by him actually. So it's kind of interesting. If I take a look at this player's stats here, and look at his went to showdown. His went to showdown is 45%. So this is something I really should take a quick look at when I am making these bluffs. And it's something I really do need to pinpoint is like, okay, well, this player goes to showdown. We have over 700 hands on this player. So we've played a number of hands versus this guy. His went to showdown is 45%. So that's pretty high. So that pretty much means that, like, he is a difficult player to bluff. So something that I really need to keep in mind when I am playing versus these types of players, and something I do have it over here, went to showdown as well. I just recently created this HUD. So like I have to recognize when I have a player versus who has a really high went to showdown, that's going to be really hard to bluff them. And I probably shouldn't try bluffing a player like this. I should try getting value from them and not worry about bluffing them. Maybe I can try and bluff them one street. I don't think I have any stats for folding to pro bets. I don't. It's something I have to add. Yeah, I don't have it on here. I got to add that. So definitely a spot here where this player is going to showdown almost 50% of the time. That means he really doesn't fold. So definitely a player that in the future we should really consider just not bluffing the river against. But I mean, I do think normally versus any other player, I think this is actually a really good bluff here. Except the player who's going to fold a lot, not going to fold a lot. I would even find, like, if I did an EV calculation on this here, that it's actually not going to be a good bluff if he can't fold hands like queens. If we just want to take a quick look at his range, actually. Just going street by street here. And we just put ace of diamonds. I'll make this a little bit quick. Ace of diamonds and ace of spades. And he opened up pre-flop, and his VPIP is 22. His PFR is 15. And if I look a little bit deeper into it, I will see that he's in an early position here. His PFR is 14%. So if we give him a range, like a 14% range, and we know that there's a player that's not folding a lot and going to showdown a bunch, just give him this range here. I think it's fine. Pretty standard range for under the gun. Maybe you'd have a hand like 10-9 suited in there too. So if we take this flop of 7 of diamonds, king of spades, and 2 of clubs. Now it's interesting that he doesn't see bet the queens here. So let's just take a look. He's c-betting 56% of the time. Now I knew we need to add to my pop-up as well in position and out of position stats. to know how he was in position here, to know how often he's c-betting in position, out of position, because a hand like pocket queens really should be c-bet on this board, unless he was slow playing that pair, which seems kind of strange for him to slow play pocket queens. So if we say, okay, he's going to, he won't bet his quads. A lot of people will slow play quads, and as well they should. The full house, maybe he's going to bet on the full house here. Doesn't have, only has about 3 combos of 7. So he's got 3 of a kind, a bunch of those, right? That goes 18% over pair. See, this is weird, right? Because there's not a lot of bluffs here. The only bluffs he's really got is backdoor flush draws. And maybe that was part of his thinking also here by not c-betting. If there's just not a ton of bluffs, so he's not going to get called a lot. I don't think it's the best play though. So these are the hands I think he would bet, right? But for whatever reason he's not here. He's holding back a hand like pocket queens. So let's just since we know this player did this, right? Let's just say that he's going to check back. This is really weird. Maybe he'll bet his backdoor flush draws, right? He's got to bluff something with a c-bet. Just kind of weird, but I guess I don't think he's checking back his entire range here, right? All right, so we're gonna give him this a check back just because we saw what he did. But again, this would be really hard to read, right? It's gonna be really hard to read. He has something like queens because queens should be c-betting on that board. Because unless he's not c-betting because he's afraid we have that would be the only thing is he's not c-betting because he thinks we might have a king, which I don't think that's the right play. Just c-bet it obviously, and if your opponent calls him, maybe you can put him on a king. On the turn, we bet and he calls, right? So I think we can rule out a full house. I don't really I think a full house, especially now. Yeah, I don't think a full house is ever... Oh, I messed something up here. Oh, you know what? This shouldn't have been there. Where's king? I'm in 2 of clubs. Hang on. This doesn't really change much. It just means he's actually checking back even more hands, which is pretty wild. He's checking back even more hands now. You think he would bluff some of the stuff. Maybe he's checking back almost his entire range. I guess so. It's just really strange, the line here. All right, so let me get the king of diamonds. I'm just trying to see if this was a plus EV bluff is what I'm looking to find out here. So, obviously got a full houses, no straights. So he's got his 3 of a kinds, which he's definitely going to call with. He may raise the 3 of a kinds here. I think he might raise the 3 of a kinds here, right? Shouldn't he raise his 3 of a kinds here, especially now the board is getting a little bit scary. It's got 2 diamonds on it. I can make a full house, so he really should be raising his 3 of a kinds here. But, some players like to play tricky. So, but I'm going to say he should be raising these over pairs. So that's why I'm not putting it in there. He's going to call these, of course. Weak pair. Is he going to call these weak pairs here? He could, just because I could be betting with anything. Ace high. That stuff he'll fold. This stuff he could raise too, or he can call. And that's all he's got. So that's 42%. That he's calling. So now here we go. So we know this guy is going to showdown a ton. He's going to showdown 45%. So of these hands here, wow, this is interesting. If he's going 45%, most of his hands here involve pocket pair, below top pair. He's got so many hands here. 65, so he's going to probably end up, he's not going to call it the weak pairs, but he's got maybe, yeah. Let's just say hypothetically he'll fold out I don't know, he'll fold out the 8s and the 9s. All right, so let's say he folds out the 8s and the 9s here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. I have an EV calculator. I'm going to punch up. Hang on one second. Give me 1 second. I'll get this up and running. Okay. So actually, let me put this over to my other screen here. So before I bet, I'm going to bet 305. Okay, so the pot, before I bet, is 458. And my stack is 6111. My bet size is, let me make it a little bit small so you guys can see the whole thing. Okay, my bet size is 305. My opponent is going to contest this here. We said 48% of the time, which means he's going to fold 52% of the time. So, as you can see here, if our opponent calls, our stack is down to 5806. But if our opponent folds, then we make 6569. So that actually gives us a positive EV bluff here of 9176. So what this analysis has told us is that this was a good bluff here. And unfortunately, this is a good bluff here. Even if our opponent is calling 45% of the time, it was still a good bluff. So there you go. There you have it. So this was not a mistake. Good play. Unfortunately, he had the queens, and he called it. But there's still plenty that he could be folding there. He still is folding over 50% of the time as well. So overall, this is still a profitable bluff there. Obviously, if we bluffed more, it would have been a little bit less profitable. If we had done like a pot size bet, it would have been less profitable, of course. But the bet size we chose there was a profitable bluff, and it just didn't work out, of course. Ace King offsuit here. We get the open here from the end of the gun. We're definitely going to 3-bet this here up to 630. And our opponent calls us. And we get top pair, so obviously it's a very easy c-bet here. Again, I bet here for value. I'm betting pretty big early on, just trying to build a stack early on in the tournament. And we do get called. Jack comes out. Don't love the jack coming out, of course. I do bet here again, and my opponent now decides to shove me all in. So I will show you what happened, then we'll figure this out. I did call it. And he shows ace-jack. So obviously this is a very loose call. This isn't something that somebody really should be calling with versus under the gun versus under the gun 3-bet. This isn't a good call here, but he called it. So the question is, like, I was definitely nervous that he had a jack, but still we're getting here 28% pot odds to call, and we definitely have 28% equity here. Once again, we'll just break out Flopzilla again real quick. And we're just going to see how we're doing against specifically a hand that has a jack. And that's how we'll know if this was a good call or not. So Ace of Hearts and King of Clubs for us. And we're just obviously, this guy's obviously calling 3-bets pretty wide. If he's calling with hands like ace-jack, he's calling it pretty wide then. We'll give him a calling range like this. Maybe even call with like some of these hands here. And just if he's calling really wide. Like we suspect he is. I mean, obviously this was played on Ignition's hand, so we don't really have stats that are reliable. But let's say, okay, he's calling this wide. And our flop is Jack of Hearts, 3 of Diamonds, and King of Diamonds. Okay. And we see bet he called. So he's probably going to raise sets, so we don't really think he's going to have sets here. I don't expect him to slow play sets, especially when there are 2 diamonds on the board. Unless he has a Jack of Diamonds. Jack of Diamonds might check back, but I'm just going to say that he would raise his sets here, probably. 2 pair, King Jack suited. I think would probably raise this as well. So we're going to leave that out. Over pair, I can see definitely calling. Top pair, Ace King. Pocket pair, Queens, definitely calling. Middle pair, calling. Weak pairs, I could see, I don't know. Weak pairs usually like to usually fold in a spot here. So I'm not going to give him any weak pairs. Ace high, I think is, well, ace high is going to be a gut shot, but we'll go back to that. So we got flush draws, open-enders. So here's the gut shots, and this is where ace queen is really going to be in. And the backdoor flush draws, I don't really see him continuing with. Backdoor flush draw is going to be included in the top pair hands anyway. There's only one there, so it doesn't change anything. Okay. Flush draw. I don't think any of this else is going to really apply. It's not going to change anything. We had all these hands in here anyway. Okay. So right now we have 73% equity, and the Jack of Spades comes out. So we bet he shoves all in. What's he doing that with? Well, he doesn't have any full houses. He doesn't have any straights. He got the 3 of a kind hands that he would definitely be doing that with. Is he doing this with aces? Well, some players will shove aces here, so I'm gonna say he would have aces. Is he doing this with these king hands here? I don't think so. When I bet, I don't think he's doing this with kings. I think he's just going to call the kings here. So we'll say, just for hypothetical speaking, we'll say that maybe he'll do this maybe he'll raise it like 50% of the time, just hypothetically speaking. It's all hypothetical anyway. Queens, I think will give up here. Well, no matter what, if queens go up or not, he's not raising queens here. He's not shoving queens, and he's not shoving. Some people, honestly, we're just talking about the ace queen suited here, right? Some people will shove the ace queen suited here, so I'm actually going to leave this in. And he has some open-enders. Yeah, so we got 33% equity here, so we have to call it. It's definitely kind of a gross spot because he's shoving like 159 blinds, but we can't fold this here with the king. We have enough equity, even though like he is ahead, right? We still have 33% equity here versus these. So, what are we going to want to see? The thing is okay, well, what are we going to want to see on the really, we're just hoping to see what a king is the only card we have. Really, we have really 2 outs. Yeah, so that's kind of weird. It's kind of a tough spot. Can we find the fold button here? I think, man, it's so easy to say, but the thing is, we're in the early stages of this tournament. We're in the 30-60 level of this tournament, where people just do crazy things. People do crazy things at this stage of at the early stage of the tournament, which is also why I called it. The math says we can call it, but maybe I could have find the fold button. The thing is also, like, now I only had half a stack left as well. I've already committed so much into this pot. You know, what was the SPR on the flop too? Well, the SPR was still, we were still pretty deep on the SPR too. Yeah. I don't know. I'm interested to get your guys' take on it. Can you find the fold button here? Or are you just calling this to a top pair, despite the second jack coming out and possibly having a jack? But again, his jacks were kind of limited. Again, we don't know he's calling us with a hand like ace jack, because that's not going to be normally in somebody's calling range. Under the gun versus under the gun in a 3-bet pot. So, I mean, normally you're going to see a sorry about that buzz, by the way. The washer is going on. Normally you're going to see maybe something like this. That's calling. Maybe even king, probably not even king queen suited. It's going to be really, really tight range I would be calling here. So, and actually even these here are usually going to not even call. They'll usually 4-bet. You know, maybe just have even these hands calling. Which at that point, like, we think we're really, really in good shape. So, yeah, I don't know. What I was thinking about is, like, he could just be jamming here also, just like a nut flush as well. So I think that's what I was thinking. Like, based on, like, this range, based even on this range then, like, we have even more equity. So it's a call. Yeah, nothing we can do about that one, I think. But I think the analysis says we can call. So I think we made the right play. It busted us out of the tournament, but at least it was early. Pocket nines here. Do I need to fix these HUDs? No, it's okay. Pocket nines. We're at the 150-300 level here. I have an M of 14. So this hand here, as you can see, we have 29 big blinds for those who aren't familiar with M. So kind of a middling type stack. We get to call. I mean, we have an open limp here from this player who is a 22-2 through 199 hands. He's open limping 24% of the time. So we do isolate here. I bumped this up by 4x. And my opponent calls. And here versus the limper, I'd rather just c-bet. Even though I'm out of position, I'd rather just c-bet this here. Sure, this isn't the best board, but I'm going to protect my nines here and c-bet. I've shown aggression pre-flop. You know, I've isolated a limper. I just want to continue with that aggression. And so I bet small here, considering my stack size isn't the biggest. I bet a third pot bet here. And my opponent does call us. So, I mean, of course, he could be calling us with, you know, any pair of queens that he might have. You could have a bunch of queens. You know, this guy's going to probably calling, you know, limp calling with a bunch of, you know, possibly a bunch of suited queens, suited tens you might have. You could even have a hand like queen 10, 2-pair. Although 2-pair, that would probably erase us here. So I expect him to be calling with probably some queens or tens, or maybe some kind of pocket pairs he might have. They may not be able to fold. This guy's went to showdown is 41%. Now, in terms of limping stats, I don't think we really have limping stats and how often they fold. That's something I should add as well, is how often that they fold. How often they fold to a 2-bet after limping. That's something I got to add. Anyway, he calls. King comes out here, and I think right now at this point we just might as well shut it down. There's no reason to bet anymore out of position. We can give up this pot here when he did decide to call, since we know he could probably be calling with a queen or a 10. So we check. Our opponent then decides to shove into us, and this is an easy fold with the pocket nines. I apologize, just drinking some coffee. Okay, next up here. We get this jam here. So one of the things I put in here was when people jam, obviously we're folding 3-4. All right, queen 10. We're going to open this up here from the cutoff. We have an M of 37 right now. So it looks like my my sort didn't quite work out well, because we're supposed to be seeing these hands in order of M, but that clearly didn't work, which is fine. Whatever it is, what it is. We just want to look through these hands anyway. All right, so queen 10 here. I open this up. from the cutoff. And we get a call from the big blind. Big blind play, we got 51 hands on so far. So not a big sample size, but we can see this player is pretty loose. He's got 65-16 at this stage. Recreational player, definitely. So far, he's not going to showdown a ton. So a c-bet here on this board, like whatever comes out, should be good for us here. This board's pretty dry. Yeah, I mean, you know, hands like maybe sixes, you know, are going to call. And obviously, I mean, there's not many draws that you can even have in this board. So I think it's a really safe board for us here to throw out a c-bet. I check back here, so I don't like this here. We got a player who also, as I can take a look, has been folding the c-bets a lot. This is spots I really need to take more advantage of and just punish the limpers. I know my issue here is I'm looking at this board and I'm saying, oh, well, 7-5-2 is favors the big blind. But, I mean, it doesn't really favor the big blind. Let's just take a look at this, right? Let's just take a look at how often this is going to hit an open limper. How often is he going to hit here, right? So let's just say he's calling, he's limping like 41% of the time. So not a ton, right? So 41% of the time, and let's say he's not going to limp like these hands here. Right? Let's say he's not going to limp these hands here, so we'll add in like all these aces here. He's got a ton of aces, right? Let's say he's going to limp in like all this stuff type here, all right? So let's say, like, okay, hypothetically speaking, this is his limp calling range, right? And he's going to call it everything. He's going to limp call like everything. Well, what has he got in his board here? He's got some 3-of-a-kind hands that connects with this board. Very few. Oh, we don't have the board up. Well, let's figure it out. 2, 5, and 7. Okay. He's got a very small amount of sets. Let's turn this into combo mode, actually. Even better. Because we're playing with, he got 493 combos, right? So he's got 9 combos of sets, 9 combos of 2 pair, 12 combos of over pairs, 51 combos of top pair, 6 combos of pocket pair below top pair, 39 combos of middle pair. But look at this. 47% of his range are no-made hands. And 21% of his range is just ace high. That's a lot, right? So 21, let's just say 21 plus 48. 69% of his range does not connect with this board here. So that's huge. So that's why we really do need to be c-betting here, you know, and not be worrying about, oh, well, this hits my opponent's range better. Well, does it really? Yeah, sure, it hits it better, but he's still... Well, I should say, all right, it hits his range better than, say, it hits my range. Sure. My range is pretty big here, too, don't forget, because I'm in the cutoff. So, in fact, you want to take a look at that. Let's break out Power Equilab. When we say, oh, it hits his range better than it hits my range. Well, does it really? Run me next time. All right, let's see. Does it really is the question. Well, we'll take his range that I created. And let's build a range for me. So let me just, my range can be pretty big here as well because we are in the cutoff. We'll be opening all this here. All right, so let's say like this is my range here. So I don't even really open up suited gappers here. This is like 28%. This is like 20% range. I probably should be opening up even a little more from the cutoff. I might still be playing a little bit tighter from the cutoff than I should be, but this is about close to where my range is going to be. And the cutoff. And our board is 2 of hearts. Just to dispel the myth that it hits my range, his range better than mine. Well, this is me right here, right? Because this was him. I have 53. So this is where okay, this is where the mistake is, right? Oh, it hits his range better than mine. Well, I have 53% equity on this board, and he has 46% equity on this board. So clearly, it hits my range much better than it hits his. Let's say hypothetically, okay, what's the board where it's like, oh god, this freaking sucks for our range. All right, 10, 9, 8. Even 10, 9, 8 is better for my range because of how his range looks. He's got so much crap in his range. Even 10, 9, 8 is better for me because I still have a fairly wide range as well. So the idea of, oh, well, it hits his range better than mine clearly is incorrect. Let's take a look at the, Queen Jack. I mean, that's, I don't know. Yeah, anyway, the point is here is need to be c-betting on this board. And the idea of, oh, it hits his range better than it hits my range is actually not accurate. So we got to be punishing the limper. C-bet here. We miss it. He bets. We fold. Another missed opportunity to gain some chips that we should have gained. Pocket nines here. We're really deep. This is early stages, 25-50 level. I think this is back on Ignition. Oh, no, it's not. This is on Betonline. Okay, so we're going to open this up here. Get the call again from the big blind. So our big blind player here. Only 52 hands so far. A 17-8. So not too much we can go off of here. It seems like it's pretty tight passive for the most part. But he's not open limping at all. Interesting to note. So he's pretty tight though. Early on, he's folding c-bet 3 out of 4 times. So we get in a spot here. Definitely want to c-bet this board here. Protect our nines here on this board. Good board for us, of course. So we do bet, and our opponent folds. There you go. No analysis needed for that one. Pocket sixes. We get an open here from the button. Definitely want to defend with our sixes here. Just in terms of stack size, we got Ember 37, which is 73 big blinds. Our opponent's Ember 25, which is 49 big blinds. So easy call. And, it's a spot here where if I check and he checks, I do want to pro bet the turn. But if he calls, then I'm just going to look to go check on the river. And it does go check here. So 8 comes out. Perfect for me. If I see a hand like an ace, card like an ace here, I'm actually going to back off from pro betting. But an 8 is like just a perfect pro bet hand here, just now for protection. So we do bet here. And I bet a little bit on the larger side. And I think that's okay, considering, I think that's fine still betting on the larger side. We're looking to get some folds here. Fold out any kind of ace high hand. Really is going to be the thing that we're looking to fold out. Any kind of like overcards, things like that we want to fold out that might float to a smaller bet. So that's really the goal here, is for protection. And we could always maybe even get value from worse, possibly, if he has... I don't know. I don't know how much worse, I don't think 2s or 5s are probably calling here. So, I mean, clearly this is a bluff, but also for protection as well against overcards. Because we could definitely have the best hand here right now, but we can definitely find a river that we're not going to be happy with. He does call. And 8 comes out again. So, this is an interesting spot. But I really think we're just going to hope to go check here. I don't think we should be betting again. If he called this 8, I don't think he's going to be calling another one. Now, what we can do is we can bluff catch as well. Because one thing he could definitely be calling us here with is definitely some kind of a club draw. Again, he's going to have a really big range too. He is on the button. Now, we didn't look at his type of player he is, but you can see he's pretty loose. But his pre-flop opening is only 16%. Now, 51 hands, 51 hands, but we can't really go anything with positional because we only have 51 hands. So, and he hasn't opened up too much. So he might have like it could be possible that he has like overpairs. Decide to check back and then call our bet. So I think we just got to go check here. And I think if he bets, I think we just got to fold out our sixes. And that's what happens. And yeah, I fold out the sixes, which is fine. So, I mean, he could even have an 8 here. A hand like ace-8 is always possible that he might have opened up with. Hand like 9-8 suited is always possible that he could have opened up with here. I don't think he has a hand like king-8 or anything like that. But there is, when he calls, it's unlikely. Sure, we could try and bluff catch here. Considering that we don't have that we're not blocking any clubs. But his bet was pretty big. I think we just got to give this one up here. I mean, the other thing is like he probably doesn't have clubs. No, actually, more I think about it, he probably doesn't have clubs anyway because clubs are likely gonna c-bet the flop, and he didn't c-bet the flop as well. So, other than that, like we check. I mean, I guess he could be bluffing here with like ace high. I guess he could be doing that as well. That might float the turn with ace high. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look at this one here. Let's take a look. The more I look at this hand, the more I'm kind of curious about it because what does he have here? What does he have here? Can we make a hero call? Does he have enough junk in his range that we can make a hero call here? All right, let's see. So he opens up. All right, we'll give him this range of 16%. We'll just go with this for now because he seems pretty loose passive, which means he's not really. If he's doing like, yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Is he's open limping also 41% of the time thus far, so he's gonna. Right, we don't expect him to open up these hands. We don't expect him to even open up these types of hands as well. Wow. Okay, this is really interesting. This is actually really interesting. I mean, could he possibly be bluffing here? I mean, recreational players don't bluff too often, right? But he doesn't have like a lot of 8s in his range at all when you think about it. So let's say this is his opening range, all right? Let's just say this is his opening range. This is really obviously, this could be even like, it might even be smaller than this, right? But let's just give him this. Let's just give him this, right? And let's give the flop is king of diamonds, 7 of clubs, jack of clubs, right? He c-bet 2 out of 3 times. Not that that's too much to go on, but it goes check, check, right? So let's see. All right, what should he be betting here? Well, obviously kings, set of kings. I mean, he could always be slow playing a set of kings, but again, I would think that. Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's going to c-bet that there. He's a recreational player. He's going to want to get paid. Some of these guys will slow play this stuff, though. So I don't know if we could just take it out of... I don't know if we could take it completely out of his range. So again, I'm going to say like a small percentage of the time. Maybe like 25% of the time he's going to slow play this here. Two pairs, I definitely expect to bet here. Overpair, I definitely expect to bet. Top pair hands, I expect to bet here. So let's say pocket pair, all the stuff now. Middle pair, he's going to check back. Ace high. Open ender. I'll leave all this other stuff in there too. Okay. And then the turn is 8 of clubs. 8 of hearts. And we bet, and he calls. Well, I really think sets at this point are going to raise. 2 pair. Like 2 pair and above should be raising now at this point. These are the top pair hands. Hang on, we just got to Cancel out this. This was from our last example. All right, so top pair hands, definitely going to call. Pocket pair below top pair. This guy so far hasn't really gone to showdown much. But, you know, players have a lot of trouble folding hands like pocket queens. Middle pair, jacks. Yeah, I mean, Jack's going to call too because I'm betting an 8 here, so I don't see Jacks folding. Weak pair, 10s and 9s. I don't see them folding either. So maybe he'll float with this ace high. See, that's the thing. I don't. You know what? This guy doesn't really go to showdown much. I don't see him calling with ace high here. So like when I think about that, okay, he's got all these other pairs here that he could have. I don't think he's bluffing. So I think actually we make the right fold here. Because I'm going to say he's going to fold his ace high. He's going to fold that stuff. He's not going to float. Now, flush draws are the only thing maybe that he'll call with. He's got a bunch of open-enders too. So there's still a lot that he's calling with. Then the river is an 8 of diamonds. So, I mean, like, what percentage of his range is crap? What percentage of his range can we beat? That I might be betting. Not much. It's 19 plus 18. Only 37% of his range that he might be betting here, we can beat. So, yeah. I think, yeah, definitely folding is the right play here. You know, it's maybe tempting to hero call, but I think he's betting. I think he's betting a lot of stuff that we lose to. And, yeah. So I think it's a good fold. I'll blow my nose. I apologize. Okay. Next we have here King 10 suited. From the cutoff, and I have an M of 196, so pretty deep here. This is early on, 1530 stage, so we get a open here, and I decide to flat it. Get a call from small blind, so we're going 5 ways. We have an open-ended straight draw here, and we get a C bet here. It's a pretty large C bet, but with the open-ended straight draw, especially to the nuts, definitely not going to be folding this here, so we're going to call. And we get a jam all in here from a reg. So this is a pretty nutted hand, I would think. Jack, Queen, 8. Our opponent folds, so we need 42% equity to continue here. Yeah, I think we just need to fold up our King 10 suited here. I don't think we can really call this. This is a pretty strong bet. I do know this player though, and he's aggressive, but he doesn't bluff too much either. So I fold this up. I think that's fine. I don't think we need to go deeper into that one. Pocket sixes. I open this up 3x early on again. Most of these hands are early on in the tournament. And again, there's a spot here. He checks us. We definitely want to C bet and just protect our sixes here. And we do. I bet half pot. I don't know why I bet half pot there. I'm not really sure why I bet half pot. I want to at least here at this stage. I mean, I'm okay just betting 2/3 pot here. My opponent calls. Another king comes out. We're just going to check this back here. No reason to bet anymore. Why did I do this? This is weird. All right, so this is a little silly. So now what I'm doing here is I'm turning my sixes into a bluff, and I think this is actually a pretty bad bet. I know like what I was thinking at the time. I was thinking, oh, let me represent this king. So now when I'm trying to represent a king and continue to bet, I'm actually turning my sixes into a bluff. It actually works, but I don't think it's a good bet. I'm just folding out hand. Like when I do this, I'm just folding out hands that I beat anyway. Like if he had like a flush draw or something that he, or if he floated the turn with like an ace high or something like that, all I'm doing is just bluffing out hands that that I beat, and hands that are better than me are calling. So that bet was a pretty bad bet, and that's like something to think about. Is like why am I betting here? Why am I betting? Well, here, I mean, I'm betting. I'm no longer betting for protection because he's either got a king or he's got air. And if he has a king, he's going to call. And if he's got air, he's going to fold. So this bet doesn't accomplish anything. That's why I really should be checking back my sixes here. I understand, like I'm trying to say representing a king, but when I say representing a king, well, that means I'm turning my hand into a bluff, and I don't think sixes need to be a bluff here. He either has a king or he doesn't, and if he doesn't, he's folding, and if he does, then he's calling. So it doesn't make any sense. I mean, maybe he has a jack, and I'm losing anyway, but jack might even still call there also. So yeah, I don't like that hand. 7-2 off here. I think it's just probably, yeah, nothing to look at there. Queen 5 suited. We open up. We right now have an M of 11. We have 22 big blinds. And we open up the Queen 5 suited. And we get a call. Keep him small blind. This player I have labeled as a recreational player. This player, by the way, had 95 big blinds, so pretty deep. Oh, this is definitely not correct. These numbers are not correct. This guy can't have 95 big blinds, and we have 11, 22, and our stack is bigger than his. So these stats are not correct. So what actually is the stacks here? We're at 200, 400 level. So I'll give an approximate here. 48, 892 divided by 400 is 48, 892 by 400. We have 122 big blinds, so we're pretty deep here. We have an M of 54. Yeah, so his is correct. My calculation on mine is incorrect. I don't know why that is. Some kind of glitch or something. Yeah, so we're both pretty deep here. He calls. And the board is King 8-4. Pretty dry board. We do have a backdoor flush draw here, so definitely a spot we want to see bet. He donks into us here. I think when he donks into us and all we have is a backdoor flush draw, it just becomes an easy fold here. And that's what we do. All right, Queen 10 offsuit. We get an open limp here. And I decide to raise it up here from the big blind versus the limp. I'm just trying to be more aggressive versus limpers. This also gives me an opportunity to be able to win on the flop. So this guy limps. I bump it up here. He calls. Now I can see bet. Where if I just call, now I'm out of position, and there's not much I can really do except maybe check raise. Oh, whoops. What happened? How come it showed us cards? I never saw this before. Huh. I guess I clicked on his cards and it showed us cards. All right, we'll just flip through the hand. We'll see what happened. We bet. He called. We bet again when the 10 came out. He called and goes check, check. All right. All right, I'm going to make this the last hand of the video. Pocket nines again. We're going to definitely isolate this here. I don't know what this isolation bet's all about. It's a really small isolation bet. Not really sure why I made this size. That was a mistake. Go three ways. This guy shoves all in. I don't know. Like, I don't think we can. I don't know. I don't think we should call this here. Super wet board. Sets it here, possibly. I think he's got fold nines. He calls, and he had a set of fives, and he had a straight. Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate you guys checking out this YouTube video. Do me a favor, if you want to see me play live, I stream 3 to 4 days a week. It's at www.twitch.tv/PokerDad/PokerDad2078. Also, give me a follow on Twitter as well. It's at PokerDad28. If you like this video, please do me a favor and click the subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. And until next time, PokerDad out.